Thor Ragnarok, for me, is by far the best of the Thor franchise. I rank it very strangely. So the third one is on my first place, the second one is on my second place, and the least favorite for me is the first one. I think it was kind of too cliched and not didn't really have much of a story for my taste. But Thor Ragnarok is a very exotic film, something a completely fresh new look on the franchise, with some unexpected twists and definitely some great style and creative choices. It starts off with basically Thor being captured by the Surtur, this lava demon monster with the horns, and this monster kind of reminded me of two things. First of all, it reminded me of the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the giant monster that Gandalf was fighting. You shall not pass! And the second thing, in Moana, the monster in which apparently Tafiti transformed into Te I think it's called. They both were really similar. The first scene of the movie is with this incredible song. I don't know the name of it. I really want to research it, but I don't have the time. I'll search it after the review. And it's like da 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 and the action is absolutely amazing. Then, like, the action with the song and the battle and everything is paced and set up greatly. After that, we have the opening credits, like with Thor Ragnarok written on the when Thor goes into the rainbow on the rainbow path, and it leaves this mark for Ragnarok. And then we have the awful music, which we hear a lot throughout this movie. It's this the theme of the Grandmaster's planet, Sakaar, something like that. It's just this very electronic and very unpleasant to the ears, at least for me, music, which I absolutely hate. I think it's a very bad choice, a very bad composition, and it kind of made the movie worse for me, so this is one of the negative aspects. But returning to the positives, the scene in which Thor discovers that Odin is actually Loki posing as him was great. Starting off with this shot of Loki's statue on this theater, where we as the audience know of Loki being disguised as Odin, but Thor at this point doesn't really suspect it much. But starting with the Loki figure and then the play, that was hilarious. And just how Loki makes those remarks, Anthony Hopkins is amazing as Odin, as Loki. So he's just eating the grapes and all those. And then Loki sort of reveals himself when Thor threatens to kill him with the hammer. And that was a great scene. Just that there was a little bit of tension, and it was really funny, really intriguing, really interesting, and always hooked you up onto the story in that scene. Then, of course, Loki takes Thor to the place where he left Odin. After that, we have a pointless scene of Doctor Strange, which I thought, my opinion, might be not yours, I respect all opinions, shoehorned into the movie. Just like, the only plot point it establishes is that Odin is in Norway, but oh my god, did it drag the movie for me, and it was so terrible. I was so bored throughout it. Like, I know Doctor Strange is a good, like, an interesting character, and putting him here, but oh, I hated this. I liked it much more in the end credits scene for Doctor Strange. I mean after credit. Okay, but here I just didn't feel interested. I wanted to get to the part where they discover Odin, which I knew was eventually going to happen. But this really was boring for me and completely slowed the pacing down. But when they do get to Odin, we are revealed about Hela, who was the secret sister of Thor and Loki, and Odin wanted to make her secret because she was very basically evil, and she stepped like she went over the path just and was really evil. So Odin wanted to hide the fact of her existence because she made some very brutal choices when she was sort of working beyond on his side. Then we see Hela destroy the hammer, which was an absolutely amazing scene. Great scene. After that, Hela comes into Asgard. That was a great scene. The thing is, the thing about the scene that makes it so impactful is the fact that all those characters who were friends of Thor, they were just brutally killed in one moment. They didn't give them good deaths, but they kind of did. They didn't make them heroic. They kind of just and that thing is actually my favorite. That they were just killed so easily by Hela, demonstrating her power and how much of a scary villain she is. Of course, she then takes a servant who is I forgot his name. The guy who is now the cleaner. Before he was controlling the Rainbow Bridge. So then she has some very good lines, Hela, when she comes into Asgard, like lots of them. Like I watched the movie in Russian, so I don't know, but like, oh, like, you know whose side the power is on, and so on. And then we cut to Thor, who was thrown in the battle with Hela in the bridge, the Rainbow Bridge. He fell onto some other distant planet called Sakaar, where he is in the trash. And basically he is found by scavengers who are searching for prisoners and stuff or something, and he's basically captured by them, and they really did remind me of the scavengers on Nima Outpost in on Ray's planet Jakku in episode 7. Really, like the looks, the costume, the sound. But then there is a hilarious moment when this woman arrives and she's like, he's mine, and she is drinking alcohol, and she's stepping off the bridge of her ship, and then she's like, and she falls down. That was so hilarious. But then, of course, she wipes out all of those scavengers, and that was really unexpected. Like how they just were burned into ash. That was so dark humor. That was very funny, but in a dark way. Of course, Thor is then captured and brought on the ship. Meanwhile, Hela is basically became the ruler of Asgard. And now this is the scene which I really don't like. It's very boring and I wished it wasn't in a movie. It's where Hela basically confronts the armies that are basically attacking her, and she just cuts them down, and the scene isn't interesting, like the choreography isn't great, and because we already demonstrated her power with the scene of the people on the like the friends of Thor being cut down near the Rainbow Bridge, but they gave us another scene which is basically the same, only 1,000 times less cool, and it kind of felt like a longer running time scene for me. And then she goes into her palace to inspect it, basically to look at it. And after that, Thor is of course brought into the tower, basically into the palace of the Grand Master, who I think was played brilliantly by the actor whose name I do not know, unfortunately. And I really like this parody of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the dark tunnel scene, where and it's so hilarious and everything, just like da 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 da, and how it speeds up, and it was a great parody of that tunnel scene. But then the Grandmaster, great character, very comedic, very interesting, and he's my kind of guy, my kind of villain, who's just so fun because he isn't really evil. Well, he is evil because but he's so comedic that you forget that he's a bad guy. Well, kind of. And he confronts Thor, Loki is there, and of course Thor is now a gladiator on the arena, so he is thrown into like the training center, or I don't know, like this where they keep those gladiators. There he meets Cork and another character, very comedic. I love the jokes in this movie, they're just hilarious, like everything. And we find out that Loki put a price, like he's betted that Thor will die, because Thor is to confront the grand champion of the Grandmaster, who is thought to be very strong and powerful. Meanwhile, Hela comes into the palace of Asgard, and oh my god, I don't know why, but this scene gives me shivers down my spine, gives me goosebumps at the same time. When she says like it's all a lie, with the ceiling being decorated with everyone just being so happy and everything and dancing, and then she just breaks it and reveals that up that was another thing where everyone was like under war and slavery and evil, and that Odin was actually originally with Hela. They were much more evil than we ever thought Odin could have been. That was great. Like, I don't know why it always gives me shivers. Then she, of course, sees the fake stuff, the Tesseract is there, and after that, she just releases the dead guys as the guards, and the giant wolf. Of course, after that, Thor confronts the Grand Champion, who turns out to be the Incredible Hulk, who got onto this planet after the events of Age of Ultron. Basically, Thor fights him, but there's complicated stuff, and then we have the scene where Hulk talks with Thor. It is hilarious. Hulk and Thor interacting, especially Hulk, just how he's like, says those cheesy lines and everything, how he speaks. Oh, he's so adorable in this movie. After that, Thor discovers that the woman who captured him is actually a Valkyria, who basically served Asgard, and that she escaped here because she wanted to forget her past life. But they find the jet on which Hulk landed on Sakaar, and there he turns into Bruce Banner, and like with seeing the hologram, or basically the recording of Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but especially in this film, I really don't like Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Really don't like him, like despise him.